Hello, lovely people. I am really excited to be here with you this afternoon to chat and talk about the truth of our reality. If you are interested in saying hi in the live chat or asking questions or whatever you would like, I would love to interact with you. So, I actually wanted to start off with a few things, which the first thing was a cool thing that happened to me yesterday when I got back from Florence. It's just kind of divine timing because I wasn't planning on being here at that time, and then I wasn't planning on staying for this circle meeting. But because all these things happened, someone came here to the property who had seen me on Mark Sargent's Strange World episode, and they were coming here to inquire about the Holy Megillah. So I was here and got to chat with them and give them a copy of the Megillah to explore, and hopefully great things will come from that. So I'm really excited about all the opportunities, and they continuously come up in this space. So I'm grateful for it, even though there is a lot of hardship surrounding it and just frustration and a lot of stuff that we're going to be having a meeting today. And I'm hoping that we can kind of iron some things out and get things moving here on a cohesive track. So we'll see what happens. Anyways, I was outside in the hallway area here, and on one of the desks, I spotted this cool book. I'm not really sure whose it is. I assume it's one of the previous employees because there's stuff that is left here from them before. But I snagged it just so I can read. I'll put it back. But this is The Essene Way of Biogenic Living, and a lot of these Essene teachings are not the same as the teachings in the Megillah. For instance, the first thing that kind of primary thing is on their communions. They are different days of the week, and the father and the mother are also split. So there are some differences, but there's a lot of similarities as well. I woke up to these types of Essene teachings and only recently found the Megillah, and it really just resonates. I'm pointing to my copy right here in front of me. It just resonates at such a fundamental level, and it has the Old Testament teachings that the Essene Gospel of Peace, the Gospel of the Holy 12, and these other Gospels and great scriptures don't have that context to tell us about the first sin and how we fell from those higher heavenly being statuses, those light beings, into this more dense and this world of suffering. And then it talks about all of the founding fathers of the religion, and the stories are a little bit different. So anyways, I wanted to just read quickly this poem that, well, it's not really a poem per se, but kind of. The trees of the earthly mother. The little quote here says, "Go toward the high ground growing trees, and before one of them, which is beautiful, high, growing, and mighty, say thou these words. Hail be unto thee, O good living tree, made by the Creator." That's the little intro. Then it goes on to say, "In the days of old, when the creation was young, the earth was filled with giant trees." Mount Shasta is over there, not behind me, but over there. And she was once a giant tree as well. So I thought that this was kind of a cool topic to bring up, and cool that it is actually talked about in this Essene text. "The earth was filled with giant trees whose branches soared above the clouds, and in them dwelled our ancient fathers, they who walked with the angels and who lived by the holy law. In the shadow of their branches all men lived in peace, and wisdom and knowledge was theirs, and the revelation of the endless light. Through their forests flowed the eternal river, and in the center stood the tree of life, and it was not hidden from them. They ate from the table of the earthly mother, and slept in the arms of the heavenly Father, and their covenant was for eternity with the holy law. In that time, the trees were the brothers of men, and their span on the earth was very long as the eternal river, which flowed without ceasing from the unknown spring. Now the desert sweeps the earth with burning sand. The giant trees are dust and ashes, and the wide river is a pool of mud. For the sacred covenant with the Creator was broken by the sons of men, and they were banished from their home of trees. Now the path leading to the tree of life is hidden from the eyes of men, and sorrow fills the empty sky where once the lofty branches soared. Now into the burning desert come the children of light to labor in the garden of the brotherhood. The seed they plant in the barren soil will become a mighty forest, and trees shall multiply and spread their wings of green until the whole earth be covered once again. The whole earth shall be a garden, and the tall trees shall cover the land. In that day shall sing the children of light a new song. My brother tree, let me not hide myself from thee, but let us share the breath of life, which our earthly mother hath given to us. More beautiful than the finest jewel of the rug maker's art is the carpet of green leaves under my bare feet. More majestic than the silken canopy of the rich merchant is the tent of branches above my head, through which the bright stars give light. The wind among the leaves of the cypress maketh a sound like unto a chorus of angels. That's from the Essene Gospel of Peace, Book 3, Lost Scrolls of the Essene Brotherhood. So this book was quoting that one. And I just thought that was really, really beautiful. I love how it ties into the ancient trees and this history that so many people have been unaware of, but becoming aware of in this awakening experience, the giant trees, and how much we have been deceived about it. But that's really cool about just how descriptive it is about how this world is just going to return to this garden paradise, and the trees are going to come forth once more. And this thinking about like kind of being on top of these giant canopies of trees, like climbing up to the top and being amongst those heights would just be a really, really cool experience. So bring back the trees. Got one that can see, said first. Woohoo! Thanks for coming. David D, hello, says, wow. Shiloh Hendricks, a mother who got robbed by a black 8-year-old boy and called him the N-word. They have been arrested and charged. Wow. The victim of the robbery has been arrested. Wow. I mean, I can't be so surprised at mainstream media, especially. First of all, was this a mainstream media story as well? Because we know that they put false things out there for us to get angry about and ridiculous kinds of stories. So also before we get angry, we need to keep that in our minds. Like, okay, let's pull back and make sure that we're not feeding into this. Because earlier, especially, we were talking about the racial divide and different ways that they're trying to divide and conquer our species, and how important it is that we fight against that. Yum, I love mint tea. Dude, he says the Shiloh Hendricks story and all the media surrounding it are all part of Satan's race-rating agenda. He sees a kinetic war with races actually killing each other, especially whites and blacks. It's really, really sad. And they just get us to fight each other, and they sit back and laugh. And especially when it's a fake story, a fake news story like George Floyd, and even what started the riots when Black Wall Street was burned, right? This allegation of a rape happened, and then all of a sudden all of these horrible things happened because of that, in reaction to it. And then the court case was dropped, like it never even happened, right? So it's just one of these things that they're putting this information out there to make everybody mad, and we see from history that it so works. David says, wow, you gifted them a copy of the Megillah. You are extremely generous. Well, I just felt called to do it, and yeah, ideally, in the future, I can potentially be like a sister bookstore here and have the ability to help people that can't get all the way up to Florence, but they come to Mount Shasta. People come here searching, and this particular person who came here searching was like, oh, do I need to go to Soul Connections to buy it? So they're already coming here trying to buy it. The bulletin board out front, as it currently stands, is pretty much 100% the Megillah, and so it's been helpful to bring people into that. Ultimately, it is the religion of love. So for me, at least, it makes sense for the Ascension Center to be primarily focused on that, but also incorporating all of the best from every religion so that we can bring in people from all the religions and really unify in these sacred teachings that literally web through all of the different religions, right? We're saying the same things, but we're just saying them in a different way. It's the same meaning, the same creator, all of the same thing. Taku says, love you. Aw, thanks. What book are you reading? I am reading the Holy Megillah, as David D responded here. Religions are made to divide us. Do you agree? I do agree, and we will get into that in 1 second. Kyle said, did that say water comes from the unknown spring? It said, as long as the eternal river, which flowed without ceasing from the unknown spring. So it sounds like it's one single river, the eternal river, and that's really, really cool. Flows without ceasing from the unknown spring. Woohoo! Love it. This, you can probably find this online. Well, actually, that's from the Essene Gospel of Peace Book 3 anyways, which I know for sure is available online as well. So cool. Yes, so religions are definitely made to divide and conquer us, but like I was also saying, the bits and pieces of the truth are all scattered throughout all of the religions, and we're all saying the same things, essentially, with minor variations, and unifying on that, the common ground is really important, especially in these dark times, so that we can all come together no matter what's, I almost said species too, but no matter what race, no matter what sex we are, we all just need to come together and put our differences aside. And I think that it's really powerful, the spiritual connection, because everyone is ultimately looking for that, whether they know it or not. They want that spiritual connection, and when we don't have that spiritual connection, there's a void that is in our lives, and we try to fill it with other things, but it doesn't actually work. Different life paths and trying to reach for success and all this wealth and stuff, those people end up feeling empty as well, because that's not the answer to our problems. David D says, George Floyd isn't dead. It's all a joke, a psyop. Yeah, and like George Floyd was super tall, and the casket that they rolled in was like super small. David D says, also, thankfully, there's no limit on the number of free PDF Megillahs you can gift out. That is very true. And I have a little QR code with the stuff on the bulletin board. Actually, I think I have it up here as well. So I should have that readily available so that I can do that. But also having the physical copy, especially for me, is like amazing. So again, having a sister bookstore would be really, really cool. We'll see what the future holds. Kyle says, I've seen videos of water coming from unknown places and pouring out of trees. Oh, that's really cool. Kind of like the Bible story where Moses was taken to, or, you know, the rock that he hit in the water came out when they were in the wilderness. Very, very cool stuff. And like I was saying in my video earlier, we do live in a magical reality, and we're so caught up with watching this fake magic on TV that we're not connecting to the world around us and all of the natural magic that is literally waiting for us. Reading the Holy Megillah is definitely helpful to opening your eyes to that and to the possibilities of what is around us. I really love they're talking about phoenixes. Is it phoenixes? Phoenix Eye. Anyways, the phoenix, fairies, Alafim, just different species that we could be interacting with if we were of higher vibration and living in harmony with the world around us. So super exciting stuff to get into. Yeah, even the giant trees and the giants, and how just really cool stuff that is in the mainstream that is kind of swept under the rug. You're not taught about giants when you go to Sunday school class, are you? But yeah, pretty cool. You are taught about the magic of the flood and all of this killing, though, right? So yeah, today I have a meeting at 5, which we'll see how it goes. There's a lot of different energies around this space, and being like the longest surviving person here is something that I kind of do want to hold on to and do something with, because I do love the space and want to see it succeed and become something really great. If I had the money, I would just buy it and try to try to divorce from all the other energies and just run with it as I can. That's what I need. I need like an event center, a space for the Shasta vegan community to have existence. Ideally, we would have somewhere that's like a little bit more in the country where we could have rescue cows and different animals and grow our own food and have space for people to like live on the land and work on the land and live in harmony with each other. Little Nasserine Kabuza. So praying that the divine, continues to make a path, because they always have anyways. So I'm trying to remember all of my Megillah teachings and the peace and the loving kindness that is really, really easy to let go of when you're in the moment and people are, if they're angry and they're shouting at you or shouting at other people and like interjecting. And yeah, I gotta make sure that I implement all of the things that I teach in my own situations in life, and it's not easy. So I would like to encourage you with that you're not alone when you're trying and even trying and failing. Like, just keep trying. Life is a school and it's a lesson, and sometimes we need to keep learning lessons until we finally get it. But when we finally do, it's going to be a better world for me and you. So Daku says, as far as I know, Moses is a myth. There is no single archaeological evidence for him. Well, whether or not that is true, still a story remains, but that is an interesting topic, because how much of history is true? How much of the records that we are given are true? That is definitely to be seen. I think personally with any text, at least for me, I do believe that the characters in this story are real. But even if they were not, that doesn't change anything. They are stories and examples for us to learn from, to emulate, to avoid trying to be like, right? And different things that we can take away from them. And particularly in the Holy Megillah, the stories are just much more uplifting and positive and in line with the upward spiral. So I really love it. David says a physical hardback copy is ideal, but even that white copy is incomplete. We need the full finished version ASAP. Exactly. That is definitely true. What happened? Come back. Tim, just to answer your question real quick, how many platforms do you stream on? I'm streaming on my YouTube channel, and then my Facebook profile, and then my Facebook page, which is Queen and on the Snow. So technically I'm streaming to 3 different places right now. David D says, oh wait, I already read that. Anyway, you can get it out earlier than what they are planning. So as far as I know, or what I was told, I guess, I don't know if they're hoping to have it out by next year. And I guess I don't want to spread hearsay about how far along they are, which I kind of already had, but I'm not really sure that I should. But I have offered my services in whatever way possible. I think that one of the things I probably need to do is maybe plan a little bit of an extended stay trip up to Florence, so that I can, just bond with the church members and kind of be there as a presence to really show up and have people get to know what I'm about and stuff like that. But the last trip was really positive step in the right direction, and I'm really happy with the results of that. So we'll see. Yeah. Kyle says, giants, dragons, and fairies. Oh my, yes. And how much cooler it is to hear about these stories than like the Disney stories, especially when like Lord and Lady Christ are involved. And I don't know, Jesus Jesus, Yeshua, whatever you would like to call him, Lord Christ has always been like my hero, and that was programmed in from a very young age. But there's always something in me that like I can't. The Christ is something that I'm going to hold on to. I just need to shed all of the false beliefs about him and also her, right? Both of them together. So yeah, can't get away from it. No matter what. I wouldn't even try. I don't know. It's just there's something that connects me with Lord Christ and the Christ family and the Christ mission and all that. So yeah. Hello, Andrew. Hi. Do you have a story from in real life when people were walking in a line and someone suddenly stopped walking and everyone bumped into each other? That's really random, but I don't know. It's kind of fun to make that happen on your own. Like, I don't know, in college, some of the people that I like hung out with like to play jokes and stuff, and they would go and like just bend over to grab something right in front of people that were walking just to like cause a commotion. So yes, Anter, I do have seen experiences like that, and not like in a big line, but anyways, random question, but cool. Anyways, I think before this meeting that I have at 5, I'm going to go out into the garden and have a fresh cup of tea and maybe just do some prayer, maybe chant a little bit. I saw a reel this morning about humming and the benefits of humming and just how people were able to help alleviate some of their disease symptoms by just humming. So it activates different parts of your body. So I'm going to look more into that as well, because any ways that we can physically heal or spiritually heal ourselves without needing any other supplementation or anything else that we're adding to is really great, in my opinion. I'm really about natural healing and think that there is a way that we can heal every disease if we stop doing whatever created that disease in the first place and start aligning with nature, getting back to nature. The body already wants to heal itself. We just need to step out of the way and allow that to happen. So a lot easier said than done. David D says, when exactly did you wake up? Well, David D, that was in 2015, and what month was that? I'm not really sure. I think it was in the earlier months of 2015. Yeah, and then I went home for Christmas and like, this is the last Christmas I'm ever gonna celebrate, and try to tell my parents that it was like pagan and all of this stuff, which is kind of ironic because I kind of consider myself a pagan at this point, because I don't follow one of the world's religions. And anyways, but yeah, it was kind of a fun journey to go back home as a more awakened person. But I look back and know that I made so many mistakes that drove a wedge between me and my family, instead of giving the final nod to love and trying to just put down all of the other stuff that's dividing. And it's like, all right, you're not ready for it. And me trying to shove it down your throat isn't working. Like, I'm not sure what's wrong with you. That would work for me. So come on. So I need to change my approach, right? So yeah. That being said, that was when I pretty much woke up to so many things at once. Flat Earth. I woke up to the kind of sodomite trend, invert agenda that goes on in Hollywood at a very shallow level. Like, I kind of just was like, all right, that kind of rings true. Okay. And then I didn't learn until I came to Mount Shasta really how to like transvestigate and deep dive into the actual biomarkers of it and all that. So yeah, and like the giant trees and different things that come along with the flat Earth. I got a lot at one time in 2015, and then kind of fizzled out on the physical stuff and really try to focus on following the Torah and figuring out the spiritual side of it, which ultimately again led me to Passover and trying to figure out how I was supposed to go get this sheep and bring it into my house and then like slaughter it after bonding with it. And like, there was just, internal issues over that, even as a non-vegan. So I'm really, really grateful that God led me to the Gospel of the Holy 12, which my book is a little bit busted up and used, but and that's what started my journey in the Essenes. So here we are today. Dude, he says, humming at the correct healing vibration will heal anything. Yeah, definitely, especially with the frequencies as well. I'm not sure that the reel that I was watching actually mentioned the frequency itself or anything to that line. It was just saying humming. So I'm going to have to do more of a deep dive into the science behind it, and we'll have to talk about it in future episodes, because I love music, and sound healing is something that I'm really drawn to as well. So David says, you woke up to the invert control grid in 2015. I remember telling my boyfriend at the time that he had never seen a real girl on TV, and that all of his sports stars were girls. So I remember having that conversation very specifically with him, while also not at the time knowing how to transvestigate. I just knew that was like the truth again. So yeah, it's just kind of cool how the awakening experience is this expansive journey of like coming back to things and like relearning and then learning them at like a deeper level and just more profound. It's really cool. Did you wake up to inverts at the same time as flat earth? Yes, exactly. So it was like a pretty quick experience of all of those same topics in the same, I'm not sure what video technically woke me up to the inverts. Probably it was Mr. E, the famous shill, because I think that they were active at that time. But being who I am, I didn't take down the person's name. Like, I'm not concerned about being a person follower or any of that. So yeah, I often don't know. Yeah, I just don't get caught up on the people. So yeah, it'd be interesting to look back on my life story and kind of see different things and see different opportunities that could have awoken, like times that we've seen flat earth in previous years or something that could have potentially started that awakening process if we were curious enough, if we were ready for that experience, which is just really interesting to think about that, because I do remember specifically in science class with my Bible, like, okay, what you're saying doesn't really add up with the verses, but who am I? Whatever, you guys got astronauts. I'm just gonna agree with whatever, right? I do remember having that kind of like questioning, but just going along with the programming. So it would have been kind of interesting to see if I dove into it at that time, but then also the frustration and the anguish of having to still go through the schooling system while knowing that and being awakened, that would have been annoying. So I was already kind of a little bit of a troublemaker in school and wanting to talk to people. They'd say, we put her beside the kids that don't talk, and by the end of the class they're talking. Like she's just like, I don't know, I just didn't want to sit quietly in school. Who could blame you? David says, Satan's invert control grid is massive. How do we deal with this? And that's very true. The Megillah prophesies about the time of the great harvest. So in that case, the time of the great harvest happens, and then this 1,000-year age happens where we get to enjoy this world as it was meant to be. So in that case, they're not even going to be able to stay with us because they're just really low vibe and they're not going to last through the harvest. But until then, or even if that doesn't happen, regardless, we are all under the dome, and we got to find out ways that we can work together. The inverts are the most deceived of anybody, thinking that they are liked by Satan when they're just puppets. And so, us having compassion for them and being loving to them, even though they have deceived us and tried to do harm, I think that is the right approach to doing that, so that we can ultimately work towards a better solution for all of us. Hello, Cosine Waves. How's it going? Cosine says the Bible is an esoteric hidden codex with a gematria overlay that is not to be taken literally, but symbolically. Well, it's definitely a lot of hidden messages. I agree with that. And there is gematria. I'm personally not into a lot of the gematria stuff, although I know that it's true. I've seen people lose their way by getting obsessed with some stuff like that. But you're really right on it being symbolic in so many ways as well, and people take it literally. The Holy Megillah, wouldn't have it in the context of figurative, because the Aaronites were actually sacrificing animals, and they actually believed that through, for instance, when they were in Egyptian slavery, they were over here sacrificing animals to try to, get out of the situation, while Moses was actually pulling the strings with the Pharaoh and getting them out in a positive way, saving the people from plague by telling them to go vegetarian. And so these people over here, when they got freed with Moses's group, they're like, oh, well, our sacrifices must have worked. So it just reinforced that their scriptures were true. And so, yeah, I'm not sure that the people that actually wrote them, the scribes, were intending it to be a metaphorical thing at this point. I think that they were intending it to be a blood sacrifice cult, because they were infiltrating scribes with demonic agendas. Learn etymology, linguistics, root words for the true meaning. That is very true. Satan is a frequency, a state of consciousness. Well, according to the Holy Megillah, Satan is the ultimate antithesis of Yah, which is non-being. And so it's kind of more the state of non-being, right? So that, I think that agrees with what you're saying in that. And that there's also one particular soul that has become aligned with Satan's will to the extent that, he has become aligned with this so much that he has become that individual named Satan. And other entities are influenced by this ultimate being, and that's why the world is the way it is. So you grew up Christian. Okay, cool. I also did as well. The Nazarene Bible, the Nazarene religion, is the original religion of God and Goddess that was given in the Garden of Eden. And it was survived usually in minority religious underground people, because of the fact that they're persecuted every time that they pop up and try to teach the true teachings of God and Goddess, because it goes against all of the ways of this world that are currently the hellbound ways too. Cosine says, I grew up in church. Me too. So I sympathize with you on that. David D says, the timeline we are in, it depends on us. We can continue down this road to hell, or change towards a path towards a garden paradise. Holy Megillah teaches this heaven on earth is always possible. Absolutely. And that kind of reminded me of the poem that I was reading earlier about the children of light coming forth and returning this to a garden paradise, especially around this property. I have loved just dreaming of how to make it more of a garden paradise. There's like an apple tree growing in the midst of this beautiful grapevine, and all of these beautiful things here that physically show me that a garden paradise is possible. Especially like making it on a bigger scale, it would be very easy, especially with all of the natural bodies of water. We could literally seed fruit trees all up and down all of these bodies of water that would not really need taken care of much, and would provide free food for all of us, not just us humans, but our brothers and sister animal species as well, because we've been starving them out for food as well. And kind of this, all of this stuff is for us. And if you come into my crops, I'm going to kill you and then probably eat you. And just this very selfish, combative, competitive way of living that is not benefiting any of us. And in this garden paradise world, we all get to enjoy it together together. So I'm just really excited about that and the possibilities. Even in the Bible, in your mainstream Bible, it talks about returning to this garden paradise in Isaiah, and the wolf or the lion laying down with the lamb. And it's just really exciting that we get to be part of that in our daily lives. We can start to bring about this garden paradise. Maybe you don't have land, but you can be the light to the rest of the world around you and just give back in whatever ways that you can. Cosine says, I just feel in the meaning of reality is awareness of love. Aw, yes. Unity, oneness, kindness, respect for one another, compassion. Yes, we are all connected. The same soul of the universe, collective consciousness. That is really, really beautiful. And I think that you would absolutely resonate with the teachings in this Bible, because that is exactly it. The purpose of existence is expansion of existence, consciousness, and bliss, and growing in love and being loving and kind. And that compassion that you mention is what this is all about. So I think you would really resonate with that. It's a beautiful comment. David E. says that they want to allege Day made the Megillah up, but once you actually read it, you realize Day is not the author. God and Goddess gave us these teachings, and Day will admit that as well in their Doctrines of the Essene book. The first doctrine, I actually was going to make a meme out of it because I was reading it today, and it literally says that it is. Oh, I have it open right up here to it. That's fun. You can actually read their Essene teaching. That was really good. You couldn't see any of that, okay. Their Essene teachings, the Book of Doctrines, on Essene.org in their articles section. So you could see what they believe and everything like that. But literally the first, I'll turn this off. The first message, or the first sentence is, the Nazarene religion of the Essene way was the original religion established by God and Goddess in the Garden of Eden. Day does not take credit for writing this or anything. And he's just dedicated his life to translating it, and I'm really, really grateful for that. I got to spend some time with him personally this past weekend, and we had a really good time. So the group of us that was kind of hanging out at his house and making music together, and so it was really positive. And I just know that he would never claim to be the author of it, and so yeah. It's so true when the more that you read it, that it didn't come from human, and the weaving of all the stories and different myths and stuff. It's just too good to be human done. So Cosine, yes, the same as Jesus, exactly. Yeah, the teachings of the Messiah of peace still did kind of get into the Bible with the love teachings, but it was just so small, right? The actual teachings of Christ in this book. Oh, let's see where from here on, basically all of this stuff is not just the teachings of Christ, but like it starts off with the Immaculate Conception type teachings and talking about the order that Mary and Joseph were in and that Christ and Miriam came from, and just kind of details about that. But it's full of the teachings of Christ from his journey in India. It has teachings of Miriam on like tea and different herbal remedies and stuff. It's very, very it's just the teachings of Christ are so much compared to what we have in the Bible. We have like very, very little in there. And it's really sad because the original teachings of Christ are life-changing. And the people that like kind of claim to be Christians, like only get like two teachings, right? Compared to the mountain of teachings that are attributed to Lord Christ. It's just really sad. And they're mainly directed towards Paul. And Paul was one of the first corruptors of the doctrines of Christ, who denied the feminine divine, who said it was okay to eat animals, different things that Paul brought on. David D says that Day is very clear on the issue. Exactly. Frequency, vibration, toroidal field of energy. That's what we are. Exactly. Just like the book says, spiral is as spiral does. We're all either, spiraling upward or spiraling downward, and all of those energies in between. So David says, it's great you had such a positive experience with Dana's church. Do you think you may one day lead his church as Yaira? Well, that would be really an interesting turn of events if that does happen. You already know that I have plans of being my own church leader here, but there's a group Yair right now because there hasn't been anyone specifically chosen to take that role over when Day leaves his physical body. So who knows what the future holds. I got my 49 Petals course workbook that I showed you guys yesterday, which is the course, the study course that you have to do the first few petals to become a member of the church, and then a few more petals to become part of the Order of the Blue Rose, which is definitely, I'm gonna go past that. I plan to be amongst the White Rose order because that is like the teachers, and I mean technically I'm already teaching, so there's just some proper steps that I got to go through to get to where I need to be, and I'm super excited that I'm starting it. The first kind of petal the first like assignment that you have to do is to write about how the Nazarene book of Genesis, your first impression of it or your first reaction. So it's going to be a lot of me expressing my thoughts about it and kind of relating to the material for at least the first few assignments, and I'm really excited to see what happens. Some of the later assignments actually have you going through and answering like an open book test for more important details, finer details in the text, so that'll be a really nice refresher as well. I feel like I have a pretty good solid memory of the things that I've read so far and build upon the teachings and the people and the storyline and stuff like that, but it's always good to add more to it. So Christ is within the pineal gland. There's definitely the Christ consciousness, the Christ seed oil. I agree. And this book talks about how also, though, that we're all part of the Christ family, or at least those of us that choose to come back to this world to be the hands and feet of mercy. We've graduated through the cosmic school, and now we look down and say, oh man, there's a lot of people that are down there still struggling, and they need some light, they need some help, they need some encouragement in this world of darkness. So we leave that heavenly abode from the graduation station and come back down to earth to help people and be that light in the darkness. We get to, it can be really depressing sometimes, but also if you look at it the other in another way, that we get to be that light in the darkness. We get to be the opportunity to come and help other people. Like when I drop my body, I want to know that I was able to help people and to uplift people and just have a lot of that service energy going out, that I helped people, and that kind of helps me feel fulfilled in life in my own ways. And so I guess instead of like, oh, this is suffering and I'm suffering all this stuff, it's like, okay, the world's a really dark place, but I get to be a light in this darkness. I get to help other people and really make this something worthwhile and do something that God and Goddess are really proud of. So those are some of the things that really drive me and get me excited about this. But yeah, anyways, back to this, the Christ oil as well, the Christos oil that people do their monthly. I still need to dive deeper into this. I haven't personally felt called to look into the monthly Christos energy secretion type thing, but maybe the fact that I'm saying this right now means that I should. This weekend, someone brought up the human design in general. It's like a test that you can take online to start learning some more information about yourself. And I've kind of been deep diving into that, which has been helpful just to try to get to know myself on a more intimate level and kind of see how other people kind of explain the way that things work for these individuals. Like for me, I got a lot going on in my mind, and I overanalyze things, and I like to process things. And so there's a lot going up here, and it can be sometimes hard for me to relay the information to people because it's like it might be complex or abstract. Or so just getting more in tune with myself and seeing the ways that my strengths and also my weaknesses and ways that I can improve myself is really what I feel, called to do in general. And that is something that came up for me. So maybe I'm confirming that might be something for you to look into as well. Cool. DVD says that Paul denied the feminine divine and introduced flesh eating. Paul was a servant of Satan. That is very, very true. And before Paul, Peter, though, also was the one that was actually personally interacting with Yeshua and Miriam and saying that he was supposed to be their successor and corrector. And while the rest of the group was fasting with John the Baptizer and getting ready to have this cool walking on water ritual that was going on, Peter was sneaking off eating fish and then tries to come in and say that they're the vegetables of the sea. And so probably where that rumor of Jesus ate fish came from was Peter. I was reading Paul. And it'll be interesting to kind of watch the playback of, his and her story and kind of see the rewind of everything and how things accumulated over time, even just things like feminism and this sex war and how women become oppressed and how it wasn't men doing it. They were being fueled by dark forces to fuel this problem, and just kind of seeing over time how things flowed to where they are. And not just with that was a random thing, but just so many different areas that things have, the powers that be have built upon things over time. 9/11, and then the prophecies in the Megillah talking about the children of the crescent moon, these Muslim nations coming back in retaliation. So it's kind of the 9/11 to then this underlying programming in ways that they're pulling strings to get things to go. I think it'd just be really interesting to be able to actually turn on the screen, so to speak, and watch it all unfold the way that the watchers could watch it as well. Cosine says this channel's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really love to interact with you guys like this and be able to kind of feed off of and the energy and go wherever it leads. So hopefully it energizes you as well and kind of brings some excitement into your way. What is the first step we need if we also follow this Nazarene path? Well, that is an interesting question. Are you interested in trying to become part of their church, or are you just trying to work on your own personal growth? I know that you are already vegan. If you are not vegan yet, I would encourage you to take the steps that you need to become part of the fleshless diet, return to the fleshless diet. If you need to cut out things bit by bit, I'm trying to be very graceful and compassionate and caring for people, even though there are animals that are suffering and they can't afford you to take baby steps. I will be very nice to you and loving and say that if you need to cut those things out by one by one, please just do it and do it as quickly as possible so that the least suffering has to happen. Returning to the fleshless diet is going to open up so much for you. It's going to start healing your mind, body, and soul. And also it starts to get things going up here and in your soul that lead to further existence of expansion of existence, consciousness, and bliss, and learning new things. If you're interested, the Holy Megillah, it has daily communions. And actually, I mentioned this book before, which I'd love to... Anyways, got a lot of plans that I would really love to help get these things out to people. This book has all of the daily meditations and how to perform the morning and evening meditations and the noontime peace contemplations that we do together. But I would definitely encourage you, if you do not, to kind of just start doing the daily practices that are found in the Holy Megillah and trying to connect with the different energies, the branches and the roots and the powers that they represent, and really trying to see what those bring into our lives. There's so much wisdom and power and connection around us, that these energies are kind of wanting that, but so much of what we're doing is preventing it. It's just kind of like the relationship with mother and father. They're like, come on, we love you, we forgive you, come on, come back, we're going to try to help uplift you out of this mud pit that you tripped in, right? And so like nature is in the same way. There's these forces that are trying to connect with us and empower and uplift us that we can connect with. And so I think that would be where I would encourage people to start who have not already done that. Sometimes it can be hard to do the morning and evening communions and be really dedicated to it. But I think that the more that you actually do it and try to connect with those energies, the more that they're going to bring into your life, the more that you're going to want to do those communions. So I can only really recommend what I am trying to do myself. And especially like when my full moon celebrations were going on, I was neglecting my communions, and I can definitely tell that it feels not right within me that I'm not doing those things. It feels better all around when I am making those efforts to try to do spiritual connection as well. There's so much physical connection that we're doing on a constant basis that just kind of keeps us connected to this physical world and not connecting to the spiritual world. So it's only part of us, and usually the negative part of us, right? Like eat, sex, whatever, all of these different physical things that the people are constantly doing, instead of the spiritual. So yes. You can definitely continue changing yourself into the church leader you wish to be. Exactly. David D says, what do we need to do to join the official Nazarene church? Well, if you're talking about Day's church, it is the Essene Church. And if you are interested in that, you would go onto their website. Well, technically you would call the bookstore, but their website actually has the information kind of on it. And this 49 Petals study course is ultimately the paper that you need. But you're also going to need to have this sadhana book. You're going to need to have the copy of the Holy Megillah. You also need to have a copy of the Doctrines book. So there are some books that you also need to buy along with the coursework itself. So there is a little bit of an investment to be made with this. But especially this book is so useful because it takes out, I take this out to my communion with me, and it has all the daily things that I needed here. It's a very great little cheat sheet instead of having to like remember what day is it and what is the phrase what's the prayer that I'm supposed to say and what's the symbol for that. So until you have those memorized, this is a really great thing. It also has the different hatha yoga poses that Christ would teach, and so it's a really great little book to have either way. But part of the assignment is like read this book and answer a question about it, or say how you feel about it, or basically so that they know that you have ingested this material and you understand what the fundamental teachings are, because these communions were given by God and Goddess in the Garden of Eden to Abdiel, so they are directly from them. And so I mean, how cool was that too? And how important is it, especially if you're trying to be a part of the church, to be practicing what they practice and believing what they believe and kind of just aligning with that. So cool. I need to learn hatha yoga, says David D. I do as well. It would be really cool if we got at Day's house and at their church, he had this really large hatha yoga poster thing. So I'm going to reach out to him and ask him where they bought it, or if they have some to sell or whatever, because it would be really useful to have. I'd love to have like some behind me or in my office here. But I'm with you there. There's some basic things that I have learned from here, but I'm definitely still a work in progress with all of it and trying to find my own spiritual flow. So it's not just like do this, and then like just right, like a robot. It's actually like, okay, how do I flow with this? What songs do I want to feel like singing? And just personalization, right? All right, I'm gonna have to get off of here relatively soon because I have a meeting, and I also would kind of like to go and talk to the facilitator of the meeting beforehand to see. I don't know. I'm just a little bit nervous about the meeting because there was already some explosive energy earlier, and I just don't want to deal with any of that. Like I don't know. I want to focus on constructive things and bringing people to the Holy Megillah and this teachings of love and unity and peace. And I just don't want to deal with the chaos. So we'll see. The last thing, David T says they've publicly released dicyanin glasses that lets us see the jinn that hide around all the time. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. I'm gonna have to get some of those. I wonder, what might be really fun is getting some and like recording a video of me going outside and looking around with them. That would be really, really cool. I know that also, though, it might be really like terrifying for some people to see the spirits that are around us, especially in very active areas, places that have a lot of energy that's negative, slaughterhouses, CAFOs, war zones, different things like that. I'm sure that would be it'd be really interesting to see all of that kind of action. So, I might have to put that on my list of things to buy and to do here on the show. So we'll see what the future holds. But like I said, I'm going to jump off of here and go jump in a meeting. And we'll see how it goes. I appreciate your prayers and thoughts. And I love you all. I'll be back for tomorrow, noontime, a peace contemplation. And I hope that you will join me. So that being said, may God and the Goddess bless you. Have a wonderful evening.